What if I told you that your very first memory, the one you believe is the earliest thing you can remember, the one that surfaces when someone asks you to go all the way back, is almost certainly not your earliest memory at all? That it is instead one of the first memories your brain could store in a form that your adult mind can later retrieve and consciously replay. And that beneath it, invisible and irretrievable and yet profoundly real, there are thousands of earlier memories that were formed in the first months and years of your life, encoded in a form that your brain no longer knows how to consciously access, but that are nevertheless still present, still active, still shaping the way your nervous system responds to the world right now, today, in ways that feel like personality and preference and instinct and emotion, but that are in fact the long shadow of experiences so early that you have no conscious record of them ever happening. The question of whether babies have memories from birth, and what kind of memories they are, and what happens to them, and why we cannot remember them, and yet they still shape us, is one of the deepest and most personally consequential questions in all of cognitive neuroscience, because the answer reaches into the very nature of identity itself, into the question of what we are made of, and how much of what we think of as simply ourselves was actually built from the raw material of experiences we can no longer recall, experiences that were absorbed and encoded and filed in a brain that was not yet equipped to preserve them in the form that later conscious recall would require. And yet, that left their marks anyway, quietly and indelibly, in ways that the science is only now beginning to fully map. Begin with a distinction that is absolutely central to the whole story, because without it, the question of infant memory is genuinely unanswerable. Memory is not one thing, it is many things, and the different kinds of memory rely on different brain systems, develop on different timelines, and produce different kinds of knowledge that you can consciously recall and describe, and knowledge that lives in the body and the nervous system and the patterns of your reactions without ever rising to the level of conscious awareness or verbal report. The kind of memory that most people mean when they use the word, the autobiographical, narrative, story-shaped kind, the kind that lets you say, "I remember when," the kind that places a specific event in a specific time and gives it a before and after, is what psychologists call explicit or declarative memory, and it depends critically on a brain structure called the hippocampus, which plays a central role in the formation and the consolidation of conscious, episodic memories, and which is one of the later developing structures in the infant brain, not reaching functional maturity until somewhere between 2.5 and 3 years of age in most children, and continuing to develop in important ways across childhood and adolescence, which is why the phenomenon of infantile amnesia exists, why almost no adult has conscious memories from the first 2 years of their life. Not because nothing was happening, not because the brain was not recording, but because the recording system for the specific type of memory that adult conscious recall requires was not yet built. But here is what most people do not know and what changes the entire picture. The absence of the hippocampal system does not mean the absence of memory. It means the absence of one kind of memory, while other, older, more primitive kinds of memory are operating from the very beginning, from birth and in many cases before it, forming records of experience that live not in conscious narrative, but in the body, in the nervous system, in the patterns of response and reaction and preference that constitute the invisible autobiography every person carries without knowing it. The oldest and most fundamental form of memory that babies possess is what researchers call implicit or procedural memory, and it is the memory of how rather than the memory of what. Not the memory of specific events, but the memory of patterns, of regularities, of associations between stimuli and responses, of the feel of things and the rhythm of things, and the way the body has learned to respond to this kind of experience because it has encountered that kind of experience before. Implicit memory does not require the hippocampus. It is stored in older brain structures, including the cerebellum, the basal ganglia, the amygdala, and the neural circuits of the body itself. And it begins forming before birth, in the fetal nervous system that is already learning the rhythm of the mother's heartbeat, the sound of her voice, the taste of the amniotic fluid that reflects her diet, the particular sensory signature of the womb environment that will make the world outside feel, by comparison, shockingly unfamiliar. And it continues forming from the very first moments after birth, laying down records of every repeated experience, every pattern of sensation, every association between action and consequence, every encounter with the sensory world, in a form that the baby cannot consciously recall or describe, but that is no less real and no less present for being inaccessible to conscious retrieval. This is why a newborn baby who has been exposed to a particular melody in utero will show a measurable calming response when that melody is played after birth, not because the baby consciously remembers hearing it before, but because the nervous system has an implicit record of its association with the safe, warm, familiar environment of the womb. And that record triggers a response of familiarity and ease, even in the absence of any conscious recognition. This is memory, real memory, functioning memory. It is just not the kind that comes with a story attached. Here is the first twist that tends to genuinely stop people. The most powerful and the most enduring implicit memories formed in infancy are not memories of events or of objects or of sensory experiences. They are memories of relationship, memories of the emotional and relational patterns that the baby encounters again and again in the interactions with their primary caregivers, memories of what it feels like to be distressed and then soothed, to reach for something and be met or not met, to signal a need and have it answered or ignored, to exist in the presence of a warm and responsive other or in the presence of an unpredictable or absent one. And these relational implicit memories, laid down across the thousands of small interactions that constitute the daily life of the first months and years, form what developmental psychologists call internal working models, the baby's deeply felt, neurologically encoded expectations about how relationships work, what other people do when you need them, whether the world is a place that responds to you or a place that does not, whether your own feelings and needs are things that matter and deserve to be met, or things that are inconvenient and are best suppressed. And these internal working models, formed in the first 2 years of life before any of it can be consciously recalled, shape the person's approach to every subsequent relationship they ever have, not as conscious beliefs or deliberate strategies, but as automatic patterns, as the deeply felt sense of what is normal in a relationship, as the expectations the nervous system brings to every new encounter with intimacy and need and vulnerability. Expectations so fundamental and so early that they feel not like memories, but like simply the way things are, the way people work, the way love behaves, when in fact they are memories, the oldest and the most influential memories a person carries, encoded in a brain too young to know it was encoding them, and filed in a body that will carry them forward into every relationship of a lifetime. Here is the second twist, and this is the finding that tends to land with the most personal weight. Researchers studying the relationship between early relational experience and adult attachment patterns have found that the implicit memories of early relationship are not just emotionally influential, but are physically embodied. They live not just in the patterns of the nervous system, but in the specific ways the body responds to closeness and distance, and touch and separation and need, in the particular quality of ease or tension that arises when someone gets close, in the specific bodily signatures of what it feels like to trust or to brace or to withdraw or to cling, in the physical memory of what safety felt like and what its absence felt like, in the earliest and most formative experiences of being in a body in the presence of another person. And this means that the body itself is a kind of archive, carrying records of experiences that the mind cannot consciously access, storing in its patterns of tension and ease and reactivity and openness the long history of what it learned about being in the world with other people in the years before it had words to describe any of it. Somatic therapists and body-centered psychologists have worked with this understanding for decades, recognizing that the fastest and most direct route to these earliest implicit memories is sometimes not through language and narrative, but through the body itself, through the patterns of movement and sensation and physiological response that still carry the encoded record of experiences the conscious mind can no longer reach, which means that the baby, who was held with warmth and responded to with consistency, carries that experience in their body as a felt sense of ease in closeness, and the baby who was held with tension or inconsistency carries that experience in their body too, as a different felt sense, a different physical signature of what